Hello and welcome back to Matthew's Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup. There's quite a bit to get through today, including news within the last hour that Tottenham are prepared to offer Harry Winks and Lucas Moura as part of a deal. I'm not to say that on my laptop, so let's just mute that. As part of a deal to bring in £60 million forward Richarlison. Everton seemingly wanting more than what was initially reported by Bruno Andrade on Saturday, but we're going to look into that story. We'll also look at the latest on Jed Spence, Gleison Bremer, Pau Torres and Christian Eriksen, who is expected to make a decision very soon. And we also have news on potential departures, of course, for Steven Bergwijn, but also for Sergio Reguilon. But before we do dive into the news, the big news of the day with regards to Richarlison, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the notification bell so you get notified every time we upload or go live. And to everyone who's tuning in, to Matt, Dave, Rune, Simon, Wood, Terry, Alex, John of the Cheese Room as well, fantastic to see you. Everyone, I will be in the Cheese Room later, so make sure to go and check that out. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. But look, let's start by talking about this guy, Richarlison. Now, as I said there at the top of the show, Matt Law has said that Spurs are prepared to offer Harry Winks and Lucas Moura as part of an offer to sign Richarlison, who Everton value at well over £50 million. And look, that initial report last week was €60 million is what Everton were looking for, which is about £51.24 million. Basically everything we've gotten since that point is that Everton want more than that. They want closer to about £60 million, if not even more, which is a lot of money. And that's what this show was initially going to be about. I have a poll in the chat. Anyone, if you do want to get involved in the poll, would you be happy if Tottenham paid £60 million for Richarlison? Let me know in that poll there. But Tottenham could supplement that fee and could save a little bit of money and also save themselves a bit of time in trying to get some business done. Instead of selling Harry Winks and potentially Lucas Moura separately, they could try and include them in this deal. And look, Harry Winks, I think, is a seemingly obvious one to put within this. Tottenham want to let him go. I think he's been valued at about £20 million. We're probably not going to get that amount of money, but Everton have been linked with him quite a bit in the last few weeks, so it is very clear that Everton would be interested in a deal for him. The one that surprised me within this is Lucas Moura, and we've had kind of differing reports on Lucas Moura's future over the last week or so. We did have quotes from the player himself, which I'm going to just pull up here really quickly. He said, "It's very likely that I will stay. I already had a conversation with the club. They are interested in me staying." So that was only last week. I think it was, well, for me anyway, it was fairly conclusive that Lucas Moura would probably be staying at Tottenham. But since then, some rumours have kind of surfaced. Will he be staying? Will he be allowed to leave? You know, people talk about how much we'd actually get for him, but it makes a lot of sense for him to be included within this deal from a Tottenham perspective, and definitely from an Everton perspective. You know, they're losing a player like Richarlison, who's a quick, nippy, pacey forward, and you know, if they're getting a ready-made replacement for him, when they're definitely going to have to invest in their squad elsewhere. You know, they're bringing in Lucas, who has a lot of Premier League experience, and that could be invaluable to Everton, who are trying to steer themselves away from the relegation zone next season. So I can see where the value comes in for both clubs. But with Lucas Moura, he seems to want to return to Brazil. He seems to want to return to Sao Paulo, and for him, I think he's a year or two left on his Tottenham contract to run that down, see that out, and then make that move back home. For him, kind of seemed like the dream scenario and the dream way for the rest of his career to play out. If he's going to go to Everton, you would really start to question whether Everton would be happy for him to sign just a 1 or 2 year contract. So while it does make a lot of sense on the forefront, Spurs doing this, spend a little bit less money. Everton get 2 Premier League experienced players, a lot of games under their belt, and who will be good additions to their team. But there's a lot of complications around this, and as Paul O'Keefe said on Twitter, player swaps very rarely happen, especially with 3 players involved. So this is a deal that will be extremely difficult to pursue. And it'll be interesting to see how it does pan out, but it probably does show that Tottenham, despite that higher price tag that Everton have put on the player, are still keen to actually pursue something here and try and get a deal done. Because for me, £50 million was a little bit much, and I was still kind of questioning whether that would be worth it. But you're adding another 10, potentially 15 million onto that, and you really have to ask yourself, well, why wouldn't we splash the cash with another 10, 15 million and maybe get a Lautaro Martinez? And someone made a good point in my comments in the stream we did on Saturday, that is getting a player with no Premier League experience more risky? Of course it is, but I think you get a lot more value for money in terms of the quality that player has, or the talent that player has, if you are going outside the Premier League. Because when you're buying from teams in the same league, naturally that price is going to be inflated, and Tottenham have benefited a lot from that in the past. There's no doubt about it, but we also don't really want to be caught on the wrong side of that. But I think Tottenham's intentions are very clear with the way they are trying to figure something out to try and get a deal done here. But there's a lot more to get through on Richarlison, so we will do that. Alistair Gold has said that Fabio Paratici is a fan of Richarlison, and although a move isn't imminent, the circumstances could change as the window progresses. So maybe this position isn't a priority for us. You know, we have other places in our first team that we need to improve the quality that is starting week in, week out, namely left centre-back, right wing-back, and potentially left wing-back, depending on what Ivan Perisic has been brought in to do. So maybe this is one that they're looking at a few weeks or maybe a month down the line, and Richarlison is just on that list, I suppose. Fabrizio Romano has said that Everton would want 70 to 75 million euro for Richarlison, which is about 60 to 64 million pounds. He said that Spurs have a real interest in him and have made contact with Richarlison's representatives, but Everton have not received any official bids yet. So, another statement of intent there, or a sign of how much Tottenham want to get this done. If we have already made contact with Richarlison's representatives, and the fact that we've done that and we're still trying to figure things out is a very good indication that the player is open to the move as well. And to be honest, why wouldn't he be going to a Champions League side with Antonio Conte in charge, with the chance to play up top with players like Son, Kane, Kulusevski? It's a very attractive offer to a lot of players, but especially one who has had to score crucial goals in the latter stage of the season to keep his team in the Premier League. Brian Daigle, fantastic to see you, my friend. I'm doing really well, and I hope you are too. David Ornstein on Saturday, shortly after we streamed, came out with the news that sources close to Everton believe that Richarlison to Tottenham has a good chance of happening. So the feeling on the other side of this deal is that something could maybe actually materialise between Tottenham and Richarlison. He goes on to say that the Toffees know they are unlikely to get 51 plus million pounds for the forward, but Tottenham are not believed to have made an offer so far. So I think what we can safely say, looking back on those reports from last Saturday from Bruno Andrade, who is seen as a tier 1 source and is typically very reliable, it seems like he maybe just jumped the gun with those reports and nothing is advanced, and a bid definitely hasn't been made just yet. But what he's definitely right on is that Tottenham wants something to happen here. Tottenham are heavily interested in the player and will be keen to get a move done this window. But the fact that Ornstein says that Everton are they know they're unlikely to get that much money for him, it for me just maybe feels like they're in a similar position with Richarlison now as to what we were last summer with Kane, where we were asking for a price that we knew we weren't going to get. But as much as, going back to what I always said about Kane, that we were asking for 150 million pounds, he's not going to be worth that to any other team, but he's worth that to us. And maybe that 60 million pounds, he's not worth that for Tottenham, but he's worth that for Everton, especially how much they're struggling at the top end of the pitch. So this could be one that Tottenham are just priced out of because the club just don't want to let go. But then again, that's where bringing Winks and Lucas Moura into the deal could potentially sway Everton into accepting an offer, because they'll make profit on it. They'll make money from the sale, but they'll also bring in two players. So hopefully that is something Tottenham can use to subsidise. Matt Law, before this report, had said that Tottenham face having to pay more than £50 million to sign Richarlison. Their interest in Winks could provide room for negotiation. However, Everton are considering a loan move for Winks. He also said that Conte wants a forward who can play in a wide position or through the middle. So he wants a versatile player. The links to Alan Saint-Maximin probably fit into that as well. But it's just shown that Tottenham have, before ever heading into this window, like we do in other positions, a very set plan on what we want to do. We're not going to be waiting around to the last week to figure out, do we want a target man up top, or do we want a pacey striker, or do we want someone who can play at the wing? Tottenham have this plan heading into everything that they know they want to do. A few less reliable reports on this one. Alex Crook from TalkSport said that Tottenham have Richarlison on their list of targets for the summer, but only for the right price. 90 Minutes say that Tottenham are set to submit an opening offer for Richarlison. He wants to play Champions League football and has changed agents to do so. They also say that Everton are likely to sell either Richarlison or Dominic Calvert-Lewin this summer, and of course both of them have been identified as potential targets for Tottenham. The Daily Mail say that Everton want more than £50 million for Richarlison this summer, who is also attracting interest from PSG and Ekram Koner, who is one of the least reliable sources I've ever seen out there says that Richarlison is closer to joining Tottenham than Arsenal, which is a very strange report in my opinion. I don't think he'd really been linked to Richarlison. We got a super chat, Declan, an absolute massive super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It says, come on you boys in green, come on you Spurs, come on you Matt Hayes. I appreciate that, Declan. Thank you very, very much for the support. Everyone get a thank you, Declan, in the live chat for that one. Moving on to Jed Spence, and I suppose we're expecting updates on Jed Spence. Thought it could have been today, maybe tomorrow. Alistair Gold had said last Friday that we'd expect updates within the next 72 hours, which is up until today. We'll give him a day, what's the word, a day's grace on that one. Matt Law has said, Matt Law, very, very active with the Tottenham transfer news lately, says that Tottenham are ready to bid around £20 million for Jed Spence, with their interest stepping up this week. Again, it seems to be the general consensus around all of those reports. Teesside Live on the Borough side of things have said that Middlesbrough are yet to hold advanced conversations with any club about the sale of Jed Spence, contrary to reports. So again, reports last week that a move or an announcement was imminent, or that we were in advanced talks or whatever. Teesside Live saying that isn't really the case, but maybe Tottenham could be set to trigger that chain of events this week. Maybe today they put in a bid or whatever, but it's looking like it should be this week. And after hopefully getting Jed Spence in, Michael Bridge has said that after Jed Spence they're looking at a central defender alongside Dyer and Romero, or a left central defender alongside Dyer and Romero, a central midfielder, and possibly another forward, just depending on who goes. Which again, similar list to what we've been getting all along. And a centre back to play alongside Dyer and Romero, could it be this man, Gleison Bremer? Well, you know, after the Bastoni move seemingly fell apart last week, the news was that Tottenham had turned their focus to Pau Torres and Gleison Bremer, and it's gone quite quiet on the Gleison Bremer front over the last couple of days. There's two reports from Italian outlets that I wouldn't value too much. You know, they're not particularly reliable sources, but I'm going to bring them to you anyway. Tuttosport have said that Gleison Bremer is a strong goal for Fabio Paratici, but the player prefers a move to Inter Milan. Torino director Davide Vagnati is scheduled to fly to London this week to hold talks with Tottenham over selling centre-back Gleison Bremer. La Stampa have also said that Inter Milan are currently best placed to sign Torino defender Bremer, but will need to make an offer quickly to fend off interest from Tottenham and other Premier League sides. So it's possible that Tottenham aren't the only Premier League team potentially looking at a move for Bremer. Look, this is one that I think if Tottenham want to make a deal happen, they need to act on it quickly, because Inter Milan are waiting for a sale to be able to authorise the purchase of Bremer. And of course our hope all along was that we bring in Bastoni, which would allow them to get Bremer. That of course is looking more and more unlikely by the day. Milan Skriniar could potentially be on his way to PSG. Stefan de Vrij could be leaving after he refused a new contract offer. So we're just waiting to see which domino falls first in what is set to be a very large domino effect in the transfer window. Hopefully Bremer, I mean, he doesn't seem to be a main target for Tottenham, but if Conte wants him, let's hope we can make something happen, because you know he picked up that crown that Christian Romero had the season we bought him in the Serie A Defender of the Year. So it certainly wouldn't be a bad deal if we made that happen. On Pau Torres, quite a negative update, I suppose, from Fabrizio Romano, who said Tottenham are interested in Pau Torres, but he is not a top target for the club right now. And that, as I put out on Twitter, that kind of surprised me a little bit, because you know, left centre back is our priority. From minute one, it has been our priority. Where you know, keen to spend, I think it was described as Christian Romero money on a left-sided centre-back, and again, hoping that was Bastoni. Pau Torres was a backup option. Josko Vardiol was on that list as well. He looks unlikely to leave Leipzig. There's Sven Botman, who may not be on his way to AC Milan just yet, and of course Nico Schlotterbeck, who is moving to Borussia Dortmund. So for me, Torres seems to be the only, or the main realistic option we have in that position at the moment. And if we're not prioritising that, or if he's not a top target right now, the very, very optimistic side of me is thinking, well, maybe Tottenham are still trying to make something happen for Alessandro Bastoni, because I'd be surprised if this isn't a move for whatever left centre back we're going to bring in. I'd be surprised if this isn't a move that we're trying to get done ASAP. Look, maybe Davis's performances on the tail end of the season and throughout the international break have kind of eased the concerns about him being that option there, but I still think we need to improve, which is no criticism to Ben Davis. We just need a player who maybe it is a criticism to say we need a player who's better than him, but we need a player who's more suited to the system that we want in our left centre back. We got another super chat there, the £2 from Pete THFC. Thank you very much, Pete. I really do appreciate that. And Pete has said, any news or anything on Eriksen? And we have had some updates on Christian Eriksen over the last couple of days, and one that was actually, I think, really went under the radar. Really went under the radar with Spurs fans. Bobby, great to see you in the live chat, my friend. Was Christian Eriksen was on the list of players that Brentford released at the end of May. So every club at the end of every season releases a retained list and a release list. Players that are out of contract that aren't gonna stay on a retained list. People who have signed new contracts or will be kept on. And a point that was made, especially when Arsenal released theirs. So Arsenal released their retained list, or their release list had Eddie Nketiah, but they said offered new contract, negotiations in progress. There was nothing like that on Brentford's one, where they wanted to make it clear that they had offered Christian Eriksen another contract. Now, despite that, it seems as though they have offered him a new contract, which is absolutely no surprise. Fabrizio Romano has said that Christian Eriksen will make a decision on his future in the coming days after Brentford submitted a serious offer. However, many other clubs remain interested, and I think the line we've been getting for a number of weeks now is that if they are going to keep Christian Eriksen on, he'd become the highest paid player in Brentford club history. But he has a decision to make. He has a big decision to make. And Alistair Gold has told us that he would like to stay in London as a preference if possible. And look, every Tottenham fan is dreaming of a return. Well, nearly every Tottenham fan is dreaming of a return. I said it from day one that from a footballing perspective, I don't see it as the best move we could possibly make. But then again, on a free, it seems a no-brainer. But from a nostalgic point of view, and from the romantic side of football point of view, wouldn't you just love to see it? Just Eriksen back in that Spurs jersey. Imagine the round of applause he'll get when he walks back out onto that Tottenham pitch for the first time in a Spurs jersey. There's something magical about it, and something that just kind of makes me want to see it happen. And I assume a lot of the fans are the same. So hopefully Spurs can make something happen. Now, Alfredo Padula has said that Christian Eriksen has decided to not re-sign with Brentford as he wants to pursue a new challenge. Tottenham are still pushing to sign Eriksen, and Conte will be happy to work with him again at Tottenham. Now, Padula, I kind of valued him a lot more as a source before this transfer window, because from what I can remember, he was the first to report on Antonio Conte and a move to Tottenham last October. But maybe from the Italian side of things, when Eriksen was at Milan, maybe there's a few contacts there that he's hearing this from. It's kind of hard to take it seriously when an Italian journalist is talking about the goings on within Brentford. That's just me. BBC have also said, as I mentioned a second ago, Christian Eriksen has appeared in Brentford's release list. However, they still intend to offer him a new contract amid Tottenham interest. A few just smaller bits to mention. Alistair Gold has said that Spurs will look seriously at Weston McKennie, and L'Equipe have said that Lyon will demand £51 million for Tottenham target Lucas Paqueta, who was of course mentioned by Alistair Gold the other day as well. On the point of departures and on the point of this man, Steven Bergwijn. Now, I have a problem with the way Steven Bergwijn is dealing with this situation. He said the first time he was asked about all this that he was unhappy with his game time. He wants to be in the World Cup squad, and a solution needs to be found. The second time he said Ajax is an option for me. The third time he says, yeah, I'm gonna leave. I want to go back to Ajax. He's been quoted again talking about his desire to leave Tottenham. Via 90 Minutes, he said several clubs have come forward. Now I just have to find a solution for myself that benefits both parties. I'm leaving. Now, as Tony says, Stevie is annoying me. Look, I said from minute one, the player deserves a move. The player deserves a move away from Tottenham because he's talented. I think he has a good attitude. I think he maybe deserved more chances than he got at Tottenham, but with the quality that's been in the team since Kulusevski was brought in, if Bergwijn was ever going to have a long period in the Tottenham team under Antonio Conte, it would have been after the 2 goals he scored against Leicester. But not long after that, we signed Kulusevski, and if Bergwijn had come on and scored 6 in that game, he still wasn't going to start ahead of Kulusevski. So it was unfair for on the timing side of things for him. But you need to show a bit of respect, and you need to show a bit of professionalism, and just kind of excluding the disgusting faction of our fan base that decided it was appropriate to hurl abuse at Bergwijn in every single social media platform after the those couple of misses at Anfield. Excluding that, I think the Tottenham fan base have shown massive support towards Steven Bergwijn, and I think we all wanted it to work for him. He's a good guy. He's a good footballer. He kind of fits into a few different parts of the Tottenham philosophy, but I think he's crossing a line with at every possible moment coming out and saying, well, I'm going to leave, or I am leaving, or this is why I want to leave. And look, I understand if he's being asked the question in every interview that he does, but he can just say, I've already spoken about this. For me, it's just, it seems to show a lack of respect. And look, feel free to disagree with me in the live chat. I know quite a few will. Zoe says, I agree, Bergwijn is moaning. Brock, good to see you, says, I've always had a problem with players publicly stating they want to leave. He's done it on 2 or 3 different occasions. It's disrespectful towards the club and the fans. Absolutely, I agree it is. Adam says he wants to leave and is saying this publicly. Why is this bad again? I just think you don't have to say it every day. And I feel like every stream I'm doing at this point that I have another quote from Steven Bergwijn saying he wants to leave. We know he wants to leave. Everyone knows he wants to leave. Everyone knows he wants to go to Ajax. He is Louis van Gaal every time he's doing a press conference for the Netherlands saying, I hope he gets to Ajax. I hope he gets that done soon. Nobody is in any doubt about what every party wants to happen here. But the problem is Bergwijn is just saying it at every possible chance he gets, and it feels disrespectful towards the club. Even forget about the fans. This is a club that gave him a massive opportunity, and I'm sure have given him a lot of money, and now seem keen to give him what he wants now in giving him back to Ajax, or back to the Netherlands. The problem with this whole thing, as Michael Bridge says, Tottenham and Ajax's valuation is still miles apart. Spurs are aware of interest from elsewhere and believe the player will have a big future. And this is where another problem kind of arises here, because Bergwijn wants Ajax want Bergwijn. They're not willing to spend the money, but there are other teams now who are coming in to try and get Bergwijn, and you could end up in a situation where these other teams are going to offer more for the player. Tottenham are going to turn their attention that way, but Bergwijn still wants Ajax because he wants to go back to the Netherlands, and he wants to have another good spell there so he can get back into that World Cup team. And that's where it might become a little bit toxic. Tottenham might refuse to negotiate with Ajax because they're not getting enough money. And for me, this is one that's just going to rumble on for quite a while, and it's the last thing that we need, really. Hopefully he can be included in a player swap deal. Let's get Lisandro Martinez from Ajax and give them Bergwijn. Let's get Anthony from Ajax and give them Bergwijn. Who knows? Another player who could be on his way out is a player that we're actually going to be paying for this summer, but hopefully we'll get a lot of that money back within a sale, and that is Sergio Reguilon. Matt Law again has said that Sergio Reguilon is attracting interest from Barcelona, but they need to sell players before they make a bid. Now, of course, Tottenham owe Real Madrid the full price for Sergio Reguilon this summer. When we signed him, it was, of course, with a buyback option for Real Madrid that they could trigger within 2 years. However, when that 2 years ended, Tottenham were then had to pay the money for the player, which, if I remember correctly, was £30 million, £30 million. I think it was £30 million. And Reguilon just isn't in the plans. We've already signed someone who could be a left wing back. We're still being linked to more left wing backs. I think it's inevitable that Reguilon leaves this summer. And if we can get back £20 million from Barcelona, we're only at a loss of £10 million. And it's an extra 20 that we can spend this summer. Calcio Mercato as well, by the way, have said that Fabio Paratici is trying to sell Sergio Reguilon to Juventus for £26 million, which I think would be a brilliant deal if we can get that much money for him. But hasn't worked out. Wish it had, but that's football. Last one of the departures, Alistair Gola said that the plan for Troy Parrott is to head out on loan this season before making his mark in the Tottenham first team this season after. Before we get on to some bits about the changes in the backroom staff at Tottenham, some lesser/unknown reliability reports. Marca have again linked us to another left wing back. They say that Tottenham are leading the race to sign Pervis Estupiñán, with Villarreal making the left back available this summer. The Spanish club are prepared to sanction his exit in order to balance the books after missing out on Champions League football. So if Tottenham are genuinely interested in Estupiñán, if this is a move we want to get done, that could affect any Pau Torres deal. If that's one we're more keen on, the Celso could be used as a swap for Estupiñán. So that could put a spanner in the works for any potential Pau Torres deal. Marca have also said that Tottenham Hotspur are ready to rival Atletico Madrid for the signing of AS Monaco defender Axel Disasi. And Corriere dello Sport said that Tottenham are interested in former Watford and Everton winger Gerard Deulofeu, which is a name that I'd really forgotten existed, but apparently he's had a good season with Udinese, so report probably isn't serious anyway. It's Corriere dello Sport. Over 1,000 watching. Again, it's a very regular occurrence on these streams lately, so thank you everyone for the support. I do appreciate it. Please do make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more of this content throughout the summer. The other stories coming from David Ornstein regards to the changes happening behind the scenes at Tottenham. We know that Andy Scolding is set to come in from Rangers to join Fabio Paratici's team, and I just want to get the... so as Alistair Gold said, the Spurs are set to appoint Rangers chief scout Andy Scolding later this summer in a newly created role within Paratici's structure, and we're going to have 2 new names coming into that structure as well. As David Ornstein tells us, that Tottenham are set to name Gretar Steinson as performance director. The ex-Everton head of recruitment would be a number 2 to Paratici. Now look, my initial reaction to that was Everton have spent over £500 million in the last 6 or 7 years and have just about staved off relegation. But Steinson was only their head of recruitment or chief scout between 2019 and 2022, where they made some quite decent signings. But of course, that's the period that put them into the situation they are now. So I'm unconvinced on that one. But if Paratici has identified him as the man he wants, I'm all for it. Spurs are also appointing Simon Davis as Academy Head of Methodology. The ex-Man City Academy Head, he was the Academy Head for Man City and an Anderlecht coach under Vincent Kompany. So some fairly good stuff on his CV, and it's good to see that Tottenham are making these changes behind the scenes. I put it out on Twitter that Paratici is finally getting his hands on this setup and on the, he's restructuring the club from top to bottom. And I phrase it in a very dramatic way, but you're not going to lose the effect or lose the benefits of Fabio Paratici when he leaves the club. It will last until his legacy leaves, and that's why bringing in a director of football is so important, because having someone like Steve Hitchen, for example, let's imagine he was the best scout in the world and he brought in 4, 5, 6 players who had the effect of a Christian Romero. That's fantastic, but as soon as he leaves, that's done, and you don't have the benefit of it anymore. Whereas Paratici, you can see, is starting to restructure this club behind the scenes and within at board level. That's going to be massively advantageous to Tottenham for 5, 10, 15 years to come, hopefully, assuming all these people, or most of these people, do well in that job, and maybe then whoever comes in and replaces them. There's just stuff happening. It's been a while since we've really seen that behind the scenes at Tottenham. Richard Kenneth with the £2 super chat. Thank you very much, Richard. A true supporter of the channel. Of course, everyone who's watching is a true supporter. Says, your thoughts on Hernandez from Bayern. Look, Lucas Hernandez, he's a good player. I don't watch much of the Bundesliga, but to play for Bayern Munich, I mean, you have to be damn good, and I'm pretty sure he plays a lot for the French national team as well. So I haven't watched enough of him to really say, but I'm sure he's quite a decent player. In terms of coming into Tottenham, I don't see it really. I don't think there's many players that would leave Bayern Munich, especially if they have a first team position. I know Alphonso Davies has been injured a bit, so maybe Hernandez has gotten into that team. Of course, can play centre back as well, but in terms of coming to Tottenham, I don't really see it. A few people asking about Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. I've seen a lot of fans talking about Milinkovic-Savic. I don't think I have. Sorry, I have an update here in Jed Spence. I don't think I've seen many reliable reports on Milinkovic-Savic, but we do have a somewhat significant update from Jed Spence. Maybe not as significant because it's coming from Ryan Taylor of the Daily Express. I'm going to have a look in a second. I know he's spoken a lot on Jed Spence. I'm going to go back in his reports and just see how good they were. But Ryan Taylor has said in the last 20 or so minutes that Tottenham will make a £20 million move for Jed Spence upon tonight's conclusion of his England under-21 duty. So, of course, Spence is off on international duty with the under-21 side. Ryan Taylor saying, we will make that move when that international duty comes to an end. And I'm going to go back here. Nothing on Saturday from him. Jed Spence. Nothing on the 7th. I might just tweet this out afterwards. We have here, Ryan Taylor said on the 5th of June that Tottenham are set to push ahead with the move for Jed Spence in a £15 million deal. Nottingham Forest are already resigned to Tottenham beating them to a deal for Jed Spence. So I would take that with a massive pinch of salt. Brian Taylor saying we're going to go ahead with that move if he's changed how much he believes the deal is worth by £5 million in the last couple of days. But look, it's an update nonetheless. I know we've been linked with Jack Harrison a bit as well. The Daily Telegraph has said that Leeds have set a £30 million asking price for Jack Harrison. So if Tottenham are going down that route, it'll be an expensive one there as well. I want to take a quick look at the poll that we set at the start of the stream to see what people think about Richarlison. So I said, would you be happy if Tottenham paid £60 million for Richarlison? 710 votes. Thank you everyone who did vote. 19% of you said, yes, it's not my money. And the poll has just disappeared. There it is. So 19% said, yes, it's not my money. 41% said no, it should be spent elsewhere, and 39% said if Conte wants him. So very split there between it should be spent elsewhere or yes if Conte wants to bring him in, which I think is very fair. It's probably the personal debate that I'm having as well on that one. You know, it's a lot of money, but if Conte has identified him as the perfect man to play in that Tottenham front three as a rotation option, and by the way, I saw a few people mention in the chat, I think there's one or two before the stream as well, saying it's too much money to spend on a backup striker, and I don't like that term. I don't think he's a backup striker. I think rotation option is more accurate, because we need squad depth of players that are good enough to play in that first team. And the way I've described it is, let's just imagine we're playing 60 games next season. There's 3 places in that front line in those 60 games, which works out as 180 starting positions, I suppose, across 4 players. That's 45 each. So the backup striker, I don't really think it is a fair way to describe it, but either way, it probably is still quite a bit of money for any player, to be honest. The way this transfer market has gone, it is absolutely outrageous. But we will wrap it up there. Thank you everyone who has tuned in. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well, so you can keep up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer business throughout the summer. We've had over 12 new subscribers during the stream, so I really do appreciate that. If you want to join the crew, make sure to hit that down below. We're going to have some incredible content coming up over the coming months. Hopefully have some journalists back on the channel. I'm hoping to have Michael Bridge back on. So please make sure you don't miss out on that content and hit that subscribe button. And do hit the like button as well. As I always say, it really helps out us streamers when you hit that like button. It spreads it out to more and more people, and we get an even bigger community going here. So we're only at 230 likes, and we had over 1,000 watching. So please do hit that like button and see if we can get that up to 300. We'll be back hopefully soon with some more transfer news. But from me, for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching.